It's Bryant, Focusartist, entrepreneur, artist, graphic designer. The thought that I had at the time, I think I used it for social media purposes also as a nickname, and it just shows inspiration for myself. If I was a procrastinator, it was just a username that I had that would influence me. So Focus Artist was something that was solid and it was inspiring and it was encouraging for not only me but for those that might look at that name and be encouraged also if you're an artist. I've been drawing since I say about 6 years old. Pencil, I love pencil. How I got started was, I wanted, there were things that I wanted that I've seen rappers wear. And so the best way that I can get what they were wearing, like gold chains and sneakers and dressing like them, is to draw them. I couldn't afford it. My mom was a single mom and she didn't want me to get involved in stereotypes of people that would dress like that were not rappers, or she didn't want me to be a wannabe. So I just drew what I couldn't have. And in addition to that, I was also involved into wrestling. So I would draw my favorite wrestlers also. And so that's how it started, is especially with haircuts. Hairstyles, I just, to this day, I draw hairstyles because when I started, again, I couldn't get the crazy hairstyles that were out there because my mom didn't want me to be a stereotype, and it was expensive to get those particular type of haircuts. So I would draw them, and I've always drawn side views and front views, and to this day I still doodle. So I am a true artist. I would say personally, it's my Uncle Neil. My Uncle Neil, the story is when my aunt was dating this gentleman, I was very young. Let's say I was 9 years old, and I was drawing Eddie Murphy. That's what happened. I was drawing Eddie Murphy before him, and I was drawing this. I was drawing, and I don't know what came first. I'm not sure if it was the donkey or the tail, or the chicken or the egg, but I just remember drawing Eddie Murphy, and I don't know if I'd seen his sketchbook first or not, but I know that one day she had him come over, and he was helping me, but I wanted more energy from him. I was like, I need, like, this guy is an artist. So he was the first, like, he was my first idol or person I looked up to that was an artist. It wasn't in school, it was my Uncle Neil. So I'm shouting you out, Uncle Neil Williams, wherever you are, Uncle Neil Williams. And to this day, I've always given him respect because not only did he teach me art, but he also taught me about life. He still uses his art as a grind. So he has a 9 to 5, but he uses his art and he puts it in galleries and he gets thousands of dollars for his work. And he has some things that paid off, expenses for his home. So he was that one. I just know when I looked at his sketchbook, I was like, oh my God, this gentleman is a god. He is heaven sent. And I almost stole the time from my aunt to be with him because I was like, wow, this guy's a superstar. And it was just, from that point on, it was just great. Other influences were an African American artist from the Harlem Renaissance called Aaron Douglas, who I did a piece on an art piece that I had in the class, and he's another good gentleman. And another gentleman that is my influencer, his name is Norman Batts. And Norman Batts, he is a professional, these higher heights in his career, and I always check in with him to look for accountability and responsibility, and how to respect the field of art and graphic design. So in order to know art, you have to respect art. In order to respect art, that means you put out nothing but quality work. And it's all in the details, but it's also all in the trends that is in the now. So if my portfolio is looking, if it's in the dinosaur age, he will bring it to my attention and say, "This is the new thing to do," and or "This is the new trend," because he works at the agency. So he gives me free game, and I salute all these gentlemen for my influences. Well, I was doing freelance before I started a business, actually. I remember a lady, she was doing crochet work, and her name was Miss Askew. God bless her, rest in peace. But she was doing crochet, and she needed someone to create a template. So she would pay me for these templates, and I believe that was my first paid artwork, if I can remember. Let's say I was 16 years old. So yeah, she was the one who gave me my first piece of first work. And then from that point on, I was always in love with art, but the first time I actually received payment is when I was under the umbrella of Expert Designs. So our pieces were basically David and I. If a client would come up, I would say, "Okay, I'll do this portion," and David would say, "Okay, I'll do this portion." So there was a case where someone passed away, and what I did is I said, "Okay, I'll do the face of the individual that passed away, and then David will have his part on the canvas to do faces of family members or loved ones that came from this person that passed away." And when it came to the graffiti portions or the illustrations, that's when we looked at doing t-shirts. And that was the birth of Expert Designs, clothing and apparel, aka Escapade. Escapade was under the umbrella of Expert Designs, so that was the get money portion. Of course, self-portraits, it gets kind of slow, but we wanted some lucrative income, and we were so influenced by other clothing designers that we wanted to create our artwork on a shirt and sell it. So it's not custom, it's the design that we created, and we're bringing it to your attention, and we're selling it to you of this the hot work. So it was a case where it was the birth of Escapade. The first piece we had was Escapade in graffiti with a monkey. Why? We just thought it was a good-looking monkey, and so that monkey, we had it on a white shirt, black letters, and we had it of course, in a plastic wrap, and we were selling it in universities. We would just go to the mall, like we would really put it out there, and it was just beautiful. We had clients for graphic design services, and then we had t-shirt design that was going on as well. Out there selling t-shirts and street vending. When we first started out, we didn't do too much street vending. We did a lot of word of mouth, or we rented out a state park, or we went to parties amongst friends who would bring our shirts with us. But the greatest moment, the challenging moment, is when we're out there doing street vending. It's the summertime, and I remember we was in Manhattan. It was called a Bleecker Street Festival, and you're out there for hours, and so inventory is still on the table. The goal was to get rid of these t-shirts, So we did what we could, and basically we still had t-shirts on the table. So it just came to a point where we were just like, you know what, just give them away. Just let them go, because we just want to promote as much as possible. Just let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Yeah, just because it was time to clean up, and we didn't want to leave those shirts behind. And these vendors were all we had. If it wasn't from, the friends that we have already, and then we're not taking these t-shirts back to Long Island. We are going to get rid of these t-shirts no matter what. So at the end, we would get rid of the inventory, and we would just print out more shirts and just think about the rest later. So it was something that we just decided we just wanted to do, just to get rid of that inventory. And that's just one of the challenges, that you just don't get rid of all the work, so you give it away. Expert Designs, we branched off to our own separate ways, but we had a good run. We had 10 years in, a lot of ups and downs. It was more ups than downs because we were just having fun. We rented out parks. If you was doing a barbecue, we would say, "Hey, well, let's bring the bulk of t-shirts," and um, it was great. I mean, we learned with the time, so we did more graphic design on Illustrator and Photoshop, and less of self-portraits. If they needed it, we would have it. But we actually we took it by storm. I moved to Virginia, so I created a subdivision of Expert Design. So you had the New York division, and you had the Virginia division, and I was this close to having an Atlanta, Georgia division. I went out there, just checking out the scene, and then at that point we had the fallout. So I really didn't get a chance to get into the Atlanta piece, but if I did, oh my God, it would have been fantastic. It was all very successful. We had great times. It was fun. It was absolutely fun. I mean, I give you an example. It was just we would get street vending license to sell t-shirts, and we were just having a ball. We didn't look at it as work. We looked at it as us being there selling our good work, and it was just feeling great, and it was some good times. Basically, we just parted ways, but much love to all the members. I learned from every single one of them. They learned from me. We learned a lot about professional. We learned about taxes. We learned about LLC. We learned about trademarking, copywriting, graphic artists guild. It was great, and I would never ever. It would never go away, and it was just things that I learned from that. Get Right with Him started 10 years ago. I remember talking to a friend, and I would say, "Get right. You got to get right." This was in a secular form, and I'll get to what I mean by that in a second. But it was get right. You have to get right. Get right, and that's going to be my next company. Get right, and I was like, that's going to be branched off from the Expert Designs, since that chapter is closed and we dissolved the company. I'm going to create Get Right, because at the time it was just me as a designer, as a graphic designer, just selling and promotion, marketing on my own. And I just said, you know what, Get Right. I didn't even create I did create a logo for it. It was on the letterhead of my resume, on my cover letter. It was just the words. I just said, yeah, Focusartist, but Get Right will be the company. And it's not the company for graphic design, it's the company for my clothing line. So 10 years later, I wanted to get back in the field of graphic design, and I said, not graphic design, but clothing and apparel. And at that time, I'm a born again Christian, so I said, Get Right with Him. So you say, get right. Get right with who? Get right with what? Get right with the Lord. Get right with God. And so it's evangelizing and it's encouraging at the same time. So I just had my clothing line, Get Right with Him, and thought of a logo. Of course, I had some outside influences, just doing my research of how the industry looked right now in the field of clothing and apparel. And so I created my own design, and I just started just printing it, getting my own material myself, just printing it, burning the screen, all that stuff, and putting it on t-shirts. And then later from there, I created a whole design apparel from, what do you call it, jumpsuits, jogging suits. I'm going crazy with it because I'm like, get right, get right, get right. Created the logo for it, copyrighted the logo, and from there I just made it an LLC. The biggest challenges in graphic design is when someone keeps asking for alterations and changes. Now, I'm sensitive when it comes to adding charges. It all depends. If you want the whole piece of artwork, facelift, then you're gonna get charged for it. But every time, let's say, that's why details are important and everything's written down. So I would have a form that is, it's a estimate sheet, all the detail that you told me, because in these meetings I'm listening, and it was just one guy. He went around the corner so many times. He was slick with the wordplay, and he was very cheap. He found ways to get around it. So he would always say, I'll show him the artwork. He's like, oh, I like that. That looks good. What do you think if we had it move this way? What do you think about that? I'm like, you can do whatever you want. Well, I could try it just to let you see, and then I'll do that. He's like, oh, that looks good. What do you think about that orange, though? You think that orange, or you think a dark orange or a light orange? I don't know. Let's try it with a dark orange just to see what's going on with that. And he would just keep running the same game with me over and over again. And I felt guilty of adding a charge because it wasn't really a big alteration. But it was a case of you're brainstorming, and this is what you had laid out, but maybe the tone of the orange was off, or not off, but it was a tone of orange that he said, let me try another tone of orange. Or maybe we have a stroke around the orange square. And he just kept running game on me. And it was just a point where I had to get rid of him. I said that was the last piece of artwork I have to say. That's it. I can't do any more with you. You have to find another artist. In other cases, I would charge them any alterations. We had this set in stone. Okay, you have a total of 3 alterations. After the 3rd alteration, because everyone is agreed on those alterations, so I've never had any problems up until I get particular customers like this. And so, and some will pay for those alterations, but then it just run it to the ground. And then it's to a point where I don't want your money. It's just, I want a peace of mind. And so I would just release that customer. And whether the artwork is complete or not, I would have to just release that customer because my peace of mind is more valuable than finances. Photoshop's gonna get angry, but I'm gonna say Illustrator's number 1. Photoshop's number 2, and Design's number 3. Well, it's what you make it. You can make it in a positive way, and a way that shows integrity. I have not tapped into that yet. I've heard a noble man speak about it on the internet, and it's just like any other trend. When the World Wide Web came, we had to adapt to that culture. When something is new, you have to, when there's a new application, you have to look into that if it's lucrative. If you're looking for ways to innovate your skill set, you would use it. So whether it be a web pages or whether the field of social media and creating your own stream of your own stream, your creative stream, you have to deal with the times. It's a learning curve.